Here's something most people missed about Kevin Durant's new deal with the Rockets. It wasn't just a contract extension. It was a statement, one that quietly rewrites how we think about what players want at the end of their careers. Durant left $32 million on the table, not because he had to, not because he's struggling financially, but because, for the first time in years, he found something worth more than maximizing every dollar. And that tells us everything about where he is now and what he's chasing before it's too late. Let's start with the numbers, because they matter more than you think. Durant signed a 2-year extension worth $90 million, but here's the catch. He was eligible for $122 million. That's a $32 million gap. For context, that's more than some rotation players make in their entire careers. And Durant just walked away from it. Why? Because the Rockets needed flexibility. Because locking in less money now means Houston can build around him without being suffocated by luxury tax penalties. Because at 36 years old, Durant finally understands something that took him 2 decades to learn. Greatness at the end isn't about what you take, it's about what you leave behind. This wasn't charity, it was strategy, but it was also something deeper. Think about Durant's career for a second. Every major decision he's made has been dissected, criticized, debated. Leaving Oklahoma City for Golden State? Called soft. Joining a 73-win team? Labeled a ring chaser. Going to Brooklyn with Kyrie Irving? A disaster. Forcing his way to Phoenix? A gamble that didn't pay off. But Houston, this feels different. There's no super team here, no Big Three narrative, no media circus, just a young, hungry roster led by Ime Udoka, a coach who doesn't tolerate excuses, and a front office that's betting on Durant to be the final piece, not the only piece. For the first time since his Oklahoma City days, Durant isn't trying to prove he can win without someone, he's trying to prove he can lead someone else to winning. And that shift, that's the real story. Here's what the extension actually means for Houston. By taking less, Durant gave the Rockets around $30 million in cap flexibility over the next 2 years. That's enough to extend emerging stars like Amen Thompson or Cam Whitmore. It's enough to make a move at the trade deadline if a disgruntled all-star becomes available. It's enough to keep this window open longer than 1 or 2 seasons.
Durant knows this. He's been around long enough to see what happens when a team goes all in on one player and has nothing left to build around them. He watched it happen in Brooklyn. He watched it happen in Phoenix. So when Amen Thompson called him a generous guy, he wasn't just being polite. He was acknowledging what every player in that locker room now understands. Durant didn't just come to Houston to score points and collect checks. He came to build something, and that changes the culture immediately. But here's where it gets more interesting. The second year of Durant's extension is a player option. That means if things go south, if the Rockets struggle, if injuries pile up, if the chemistry doesn't click, Durant can walk away after 1 season and test free agency again at 37. But if things go right, if Houston becomes a legitimate contender, then Durant stays through 2028 when he'll be 39 years old. Think about that timeline for a second. 2028, the Los Angeles Olympics, the year when LeBron James will likely be retired, the year when Durant could become the oldest player to still be elite and potentially the highest paid player in NBA history. If he plays out both years of this extension, his career earnings will approach $600 million. That's not just a record, that's generational wealth compounded by longevity, smart decisions, and a refusal to fade quietly. But more than the money, 2028 represents something else: closure. Durant has always been chasing something intangible: respect, validation, a legacy that doesn't come with an asterisk. Winning in Golden State didn't do it. People said the rings were easy. Going to Brooklyn didn't do it. People said he wasted his prime. Phoenix didn't do it. People said he jumped ship too soon. But Houston? If Durant can help turn a franchise that went 59-177 over 3 seasons into a title contender, if he can be the veteran leader who elevates young players instead of clashing with them, if he can win a championship without needing another top 5 player next to him, then maybe, finally, the narrative shifts. Maybe then people stop talking about what he left and start appreciating what he built.
Let's talk about Ime Udoka for a second, because his presence matters more than people realize. Udoka isn't a player's coach. He's not here to coddle egos or manage feelings. He's the guy who took a young Celtics team to the finals, then got fired for off-court issues, then immediately turned Houston from a lottery team into the West's 2nd seed in 1 season. He demands accountability. He runs a physical, defensive-minded system. And he doesn't care if you're Kevin Durant or a rookie. You play his way or you don't play. And Durant? He chose this. After years of playing under Steve Kerr's motion offense, Steve Nash's non-existent system, and Frank Vogel's inconsistent rotations, Durant wanted structure. He wanted a coach who would challenge him, not defer to him. That's growth.
That's someone who understands that at this stage of his career, comfort is the enemy. If you wanted easy, he could have stayed in Phoenix and coasted into retirement. Instead, he went to Houston and signed up for 2 more years of proving himself. Here's the part nobody's talking about yet: what this means for the 2028 Olympics. Durant is already the highest scoring player in U.S. Olympic history. He's the only men's player with 4 gold medals. And if he stays healthy through this extension, he'll be 39 years old when the Olympics come to Los Angeles. Imagine that moment, playing for gold on American soil, in front of a home crowd, potentially as the elder statesman of a new generation of stars. It would be the perfect bookend to a career that started with him dominating as a 23-year-old in London. But here's the thing, it's only possible if he stays in Houston and keeps his body right. If he bounces around again, if he forces another trade, if he gets injured chasing one more ring, then 2028 becomes a fantasy instead of a reality. So in a way, this extension isn't just about basketball. It's about legacy planning. It's about making sure the final chapter of his career is written on his terms, not dictated by circumstances or desperation. Let's zoom out for a second and ask the bigger question. What does Kevin Durant actually want at this point? He's got 2 championships, 4 scoring titles, an MVP, 15 All-Star selections, Olympic glory, nearly $600 million in career earnings, a Hall of Fame resume that's already cemented. So why keep playing? Why take less money? Why go to Houston instead of Miami or New York or some other glamorous market?
Because legacy isn't just about what you win, it's about how you're remembered. And right now, Durant's story is incomplete. It's complicated. It's filled with what-ifs and yeah-buts. People respect his talent but question his decisions. They acknowledge his greatness but can't quite put him in that top-tier pantheon with LeBron, Jordan, Kobe. Houston is his chance to change that, not by chasing another super team, not by demanding trades or forcing his way out, but by staying, by leading, by showing that at the end, when the lights dim and the noise fades, he was about more than just himself. Here's the last thing to consider. What happens if it doesn't work? If the Rockets flame out in the first round this year, if Durant's body starts breaking down, if the young players don't develop fast enough, then this whole experiment could be seen as a mistake. Another chapter in a career full of almosts and what could have beens. But maybe that's the point. Maybe Durant has finally accepted that you can't control the narrative. You can only control your effort, your intent, your sacrifice. He gave up $32 million. He chose a rebuilding market over a contender. He signed with a hard-ass coach who won't kiss his ring. And he's betting that 2 years in Houston will mean more to his legacy than 2 years anywhere else. That's not desperation, that's confidence. The kind that only comes when you stop caring what everyone thinks and start focusing on what you know is right. So here's what Kevin Durant just told us with this extension. He's not chasing money anymore. He's not chasing validation. He's not even chasing rings, at least not in the way we used to think. He's chasing peace, the kind that comes from knowing you did it your way with the right people for the right reasons. And if that leads to a championship, perfect. But if it doesn't, at least he'll know he gave Houston everything he had, including $32 million he didn't have to give. Maybe that's what legacy really looks like. Not the trophies you collect, but the bridges you build on the way out. And maybe, just maybe, Kevin Durant finally figured that out.